I run a trailer company called Zealot. Zealot's been going for about 15 years. Started in Australia, then opened up also in the UK, servicing a lot of European sales agents as well, across the whole breadth of Europe, also India, people, quite a number of countries there. And then about 6 years ago as well. We probably, the bulk of our work would be with what I would call the independent market. We tend not to do the studio side of things, which is very much another step again in terms of the way they do business. What we're interested in is quality, high-end independent films, the kind of films I imagine most of you would like to become involved with. That's not to say we don't want to work on films that are highly commercial and highly successful, but it's about the quality and the value of the film that's important to us and how we can get that to as broad an audience as possible. Basically what we do is we come in at various points in the process of film production. We will actually often get involved with producers when they're trying to raise money for their films, when they're trying to get investors involved in their films, and we will come on board at that stage and try and assist them in potentially creating some materials that might help them to excite or attract an investor, a sales agent, and so on. That's not a huge part of our business, but it is something we do. So right back at the very gestation period of the film, we can be involved. The next major calling point for us is the sales agent. The film's been made. Usually it's not finished because they're wanting to get it to market while it's still being, while it's still fresh, while things are happening. There's an energy around it. So we're often supplied films on terrorism. We're often supplied films that are at a very rough cut stage, and we have to create what is effectively something that appears to be similar to a trailer, which we call a sales reel or a sales promo. And that is something that the sales agent can take to the market, so here at Berlin, to the European film market, to Cannes, to the American film market, also at Sundance, Toronto, there are potential selling opportunities. And that is really, again, just a tool to excite interest in someone wanting to get their hands on this film. The third step and stage we can come in at, which is probably what we'll focus on most today, because I understand that your task this week, as frightening as it is to create a trailer for a film and try and make it interesting, which is a challenge always. And it's a fun and exciting one. But that's when the distributor usually comes to us. And the distributor will have a specific territory that they're trying to target. And so whereas when we're working on the sales promo for the international market, we're trying to create something that will potentially appeal across a range of territories, a number of countries. Once you come to your trailer, you're honing down to the point where you're focusing on one market potentially and how to unlock that market for the film. And every market, but for one single film, will be quite different. Unfortunately, the economics of this world are such that one trailer often has to be made to fit lots of markets. And we're regularly in that situation where, I'll take one step back, so I'll tell you one thing a sales agent usually has to end up doing when they deliver the film to a distributor, as well as deliver the film, they're usually obligated to deliver some marketing materials, a trailer and a poster. So once we've done a sales promo for the sales agent, where they've taken it to the market, sold the film, they'll often say, now can you turn this into the trailer? Because we've got 4 buyers who want to buy our film, and we have to deliver them the film, we have to deliver them the trailer, we have to deliver them a poster. So the sales promo is quite good, we maybe tweak it up a bit, but that will finish it up to 35mm film and effectively deliver a trailer. Now when you're working for a sales agent and delivering that trailer, it's called the international trailer. It's kind of the vanilla version, it's a colloquial term, but it's kind of the one-size-fits-all approach to trailer making. It can't offend, the Japanese market. It can't have something, it can't be heavily language-based with lots of dialogue, which won't work in countries where they're going to have to subtitle the whole trailer. And it's one thing to subtitle a film And you sit back and you watch the film and you read the subtitles and you've got time to look at the actors' faces and see their responses. And still, when you've got 2 minutes of condensed dialogue coming at you like this, often with 5 or 6 shots with a line of dialogue running underneath them, you're trying to read lots of subtitles and watch. It's very, very hard in a trailer. So you then have to create a trailer that's very much works for all territories in all languages. And so in some way the international trailer becomes a little bit more wishy-washy because it kind of has to satisfy London. But hopefully, and often unfortunately there's one trailer, and that becomes the trailer. Invariably the Americans will recut it no matter what. If you cut the best trailer in the world for a film, they will still decide there's another one that's better and they'll go differently, and that's just how it is. And they have the money to do that. Occasionally you're in the lucky position as a domestic distributor where a film will come to you and you think, this film has real potential and I'm willing to put some money into this film and into creating an alternate trailer, because I think if I create this very right trailer for my market, I'm going to get people who can't see it. I'm talking to people who are very much focused on wanting to be producers and directors, and they're full of the love of the creativity and the art, and I want to make my movie and whatever. And I say to them, stop. This is not, if you want to be a painter, if you want to write music, something that just takes your time and your energy and nothing else, and you can do whatever you want because it's in your heart, you go for it. If you want to make a movie that costs millions of euros, that asks for lots of people's time and energy, you've got to think a long way past just because I think it's really important that I want to do it. Go do something else and stop wasting everybody's time now, because we work in a commercial art. We work in the film business. Don't get me wrong, the art is really important. I love the art, but my job is not about this. My job is about the business. It's about money. And the awful reality, as we all know, is that the film business is all, unfortunately, underpinned by one thing: money. How do we get our hands on money? Because at the end of the day, you need money to develop your script. You need money to attract people to work on your film. You need money to shoot your film. You need money to then go to the market and market your film, and then you need money to then distribute your film, and then you need, at the end of the line, a whole lot of people to pay their money to see your film. And if you haven't figured out who they are and how you're going to get them and why they're going to come and see your film, then you have no chance of ever getting them, because it's just a complete waste of time. You have to have that end person in mind when you do this. And so it doesn't matter whether you're starting at the beginning or where we're going to be in this process, which is the distributor, which is really at the point where it hits the road. Unfortunately, for the distributor, they have the film now. The best they can do is maximise that film's chance to get the best audience it can, given the film. And as I say, just going back, if any of you want to consider being producers, directors, a lot of what I'm talking about today should be stuff you're thinking about when you're writing your script, when you're coming up with your ideas, when you're deciding whether you have the sparkling dialogue with the trailer lines, the turning points, the structure. When you're deciding if you can actually close your eyes and see what those people look like standing in the queue to buy a ticket to your film. Because our whole career in this film business is all about finding ways to overcome the answer no. No, I'm going to not see the film you're distributing. I'm going to go to the Cinema 2, which had this other film on, and that's the one I'm going to see today. We need to find an answer. We're looking for answers to fight back against no, to give them reasons why, to say yes. And that's what the trailer is all about. Giving people reasons to say yes, I am going to commit my €8, more importantly, my 2 hours of my life, which for most people in the modern world is incredibly busy. Let's face it, €8 is not the end of the world. 2 hours for a lot of us is a big deal. There's so many other things we could do with our time now. We could be watching sport, we could be on the internet, we could be watching a DVD, we could be out with friends. There's a million things to entertain you, and movies is just one of them. So our trailer has to be the most exciting thing. So I want to spend 2 hours devoted to the vision of this film, and I know that it's going to give me something back. I'm going to walk out of that cinema with something that's positive for me, that's made this experience worthwhile, this investment of my time and my money. So as distributors, what we've got to work out is there's 3 key questions I think you need to really be thinking about as you start this. Who will see this film? Who do I really believe is the demographic for this film? Now, as I say, I've heard people say, who do you think is going to see, who's this for? Oh, I want it to be for everyone. And I said to this producer once, I said, okay, my niece is 12. This has a pretty extreme sex scene in it. I'm not sure. Do you think she'd want to see it? Oh, no, your niece wouldn't. She's 12. No, because yeah, there's a sex scene. I say, okay. Then there's a really violent scene where this guy gets his arm cut off. So my mother, she's 65. No, your mother wouldn't want to see it. And I start saying, so it's not for everybody, is it? We're starting to narrow it down. It's clearly for a certain audience. We need to work out who that is. And in distribution terms, we talk about a demographic. Now, one of the catches is everybody wants one demographic, theoretically, which is these 15 to 25-year-olds, because that is a big movie-going demographic. However, while that's good in the Hollywood studio system where they're pumping out movies for them all the time, the reality is the kind of movies we're working on are possibly going to find an inner city, 30-something intellectual audience, and we needn't be scared to go after the proper audience. Because if we spend our whole life going, let's try and get this big 15 to 25-year-old audience, which is a very big audience, and try and trick them into coming and seeing our film and make our trailer as action-ish as possible or whatever, because that'll appeal to them, we might miss actually who the true audience is 30 to 40-year-old intellectual people who go to art house cinema. So we've got to be very clear that while there's a lovely, big, massive audience that we'd all like to get, in reality, we don't want to go after that if that's not our true audience. We want to go after our true audience because we risk not getting them at all, and then we end up with an absolute flop. And I've seen people go, I want to try and get a broader audience. I know the film appeals to this audience, so I won't market for them. I'll try and market it to catch all these other people because I'm going to get them anyway. They don't end up getting them and they get nobody, and it's a real risk. I've seen it happen so many times. The next question is why? I've heard this theory there were like seven truly unique story arcs in the world, and everything is a variation of one of those 7. But there's something about each one that makes it unique. Is it the visual style? Is it the performances? Is it the dialogue? Is it the little twist of the version of the story that someone hasn't done before? What we're looking for, in advertising terms, we talk about our unique selling point, our hook. What is it about this version of the 7 stories that makes it special, that makes it stand out, that we're going to really put out there as the thing that will grab people to come and see our film? And the third thing as distributors, and it's a really important thing, is what is the evidence? We have to look at the market and analyse it. We have to be constantly looking at what films are working and why. Because there's no point going out with a campaign and a strategy that's completely the same as a very similar film from 4 months ago which bombed. Because you're guaranteed to go down the same path. You have to look at what they did with that film, how they did it, go, okay, our film is similar, but we've learned from their experience that that isn't working. We have to look at other ways to do this and try and find a different twist to make it interesting. And one of the most important things we do as distributors or trailer makers is be looking at other trailers, constantly looking at them. It's the best, Apple trailers, think of films that are similar, go and look at the trailers. It's the way to inspire you, it's also the way to see things that work, that don't work, look at how the film then did. So we're looking at, who is my audience? Why is my version of this film special? What am I going to put up there that really grabs people and makes them go, this is the one I want to see? And what is the evidence? Look at what people have done in the past so that we know that we've got a strategy that hasn't been done and failed, so we need to think of something fresh. Once we do that, so how do we do that? We do what we call we call it in our business a SWOT analysis, strength and weakness analysis. It's a common, regular marketing thing. But we literally dissect the film down. We get very analytical. We forget about our emotions and we just go, what are the things that are really strong in this film? And if we're talking to filmmakers, we could talk about the challenges, but when we're just in our office, we talk about the weaknesses, the things that are a problem with the film, a challenge to overcome. And you know, if you're selling a foreign language film in another territory, one of the challenges is how do you get the story across in a trailer form? And we'll come to that. The actual execution is quite hard because you know in a native language form you can use lots of dialogue and it tells the story and it gets across the drama and the performances and so on. In a trailer it's much harder to do. So what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses? And once we start to analyse that, we can start to then really work out how our trailer will start to take its form. Because there are lots of different approaches to a trailer. There's the straight tell the story trailer. 3-act structure, we'll look at those, you know, turning point 1, turning point 2, build up to a crescendo, have a big trailer, boom at the end, and you know, the title comes up and everyone gets it, it's, you know, but some films don't sit there, you know, some films want a teasery time in the trailer, something a little bit that breaks form. And in the independent market, we're much freer to play around with that. So for Blue Valentine, we just have a single song, no dialogue at all, and just images. And the song and the lyrics tell part of the story. More than anything, tells the emotion, not the actual literal story, but the emotional arc of this journey of these two people. And the images tell the rest.
You got any like talents?
Like hidden talents?
Can you dance? You can tap dance?
Can you?
No. Here, I'll play a song and you dance.
Got those laurels.
I can't really sing. I have to sing goofy in order to sing. Like I have to sing stupid. Okay?
Okay.
You always hurt the ones you love. The one you shouldn't hurt at all. You always stay the sweetest rose and crush it until the petals fall. You always bring the kindest heart, and with a hasty word you can
You're actually good.
recall. Slow dance to this part. And if I were old, your heart last night, it's because I love you.
For that film, it suited that film. It wouldn't have worked for The King's Speech. The King's Speech is your classic drama and it wants a classic structure, But in analysing our film and working out what our film is, we can start to work out which sort of structure, which kind of form, which kind of way we might present it that will best get people with that hook and bring them into the cinema. So strengths and weaknesses. One of the things I always try to work out with a film is, let's sum it up in a sentence. If you're trying to make a trailer, it's a great way to start. Because films are complex beasts, and the more they go, the more layer and layer and layer of subplot and sub-character, and you would be surprised when you look at trailers, and you know, as I say, think of before you start, go and think of some films you've seen recently. Think about what the story is about in the film that you actually saw. All the characters, all the subplots, who related to who, then watch the trailer. And I bet you'll be blown away when you realise how much isn't in the trailer. In fact, the trailer will have a very simple arc. It will disperse with whole characters, it will disperse with whole plot lines, it will grab onto one key central idea, the kernel of an idea, and get it out. Because in 2 minutes, that's really what you can do. And one of the hardest things in trailers is not what to put in, but what to leave out. And by trying to boil your film down that you're dealing with, down to a sentence, to the heart, to the essence of what really this film is about, is where your trailer will start from. And you'll suddenly go, that's a whole great plot line about this character and the mother and the relationship he has. That's going to have to be left for the film. She's not even going to appear in the trailer because people go, who is she? Because in 2 minutes we have to focus on the relationship with the wife and the son and this story about that's going in. And it's a really, really hard thing to do. But if you can say, if you think about it, and it's like when you're pitching a film, the old Spielberg lift pitch. I don't know if you've heard that, but the theory is you get in the lift and Steven Spielberg's standing next to you and he pushes floor 7 and you calculate that's like about 40 seconds and he says, what do? You've basically got 40 seconds to say, I'm a producer and I've got this film idea, and he goes, what's it about? And you're at floor 3 and you've got 1 sentence to go. He goes, oh, I'm really interested. Here, take my card and give me a call. That's what the one-line pitch is about. And in real terms, that's what we do at the trailer stage. We go back to what was really at the heart of this film. What was it that really made it something unique and interesting in the first place? What is it that's really going to capture people's attention? And a sentence often then gets boiled down in your marketing campaigns to a tagline, a simple line. And there's been some great simple lines. I still remember this day, and it goes back a long time, most of you weren't born, but when Alien came out, Alien, the feature film, it had, in space, no one can hear you scream. And it was great because it was a horror film set in outer space. It was sci-fi horror. We hadn't seen that before. What a great tagline. It kind of and it summed up the attitude of the film. And that's what you're looking for, something that can really hook someone in with a single line, because has it got known actors? Has it come from a best-selling book? Has it got those lovely laurels we can put at the front that say it went to 47 million festivals, which I'm not really sure what that means, but it seems to impress people, so we always put them at the front. And if you've got lots of them, I'm sure if you really check some of them, they're like ridiculous things, like my mother's festival that she had at her house with laurels, but or has it got critical reviews? Another really important thing for this end of the market. When you see, I'm going to say the Times or the Guardian because they're my market, but when you see superb, the Guardian, you instantly go, oh, maybe this has credibility. This is oh, someone's already given this some kind of kudos, so that I will pay attention. It really does work. Sad but true. Be careful of the ones that again say www, I like films a lot.com, and you get a lot of those as well. But that's another thing to start to think about for your films. Has it got critical? Has it come from a book? Has it got a known director? Things that will appeal to your specific audience. Then we get down to actually the film itself. How we're going to break this film down. There are a couple of things. The first thing is the structure of the film. Again, there's a theory that everything has a 3-act structure pretty much in storytelling. And I've even seen a thing where, Pulp Fiction, which struck me when I saw Pulp Fiction as the most random, circuitous, strange structure of a film. It was wonderful, but just, completely bonkers. It actually isn't. If you actually stop and analyse it, it has got first turning point, second turning point, build to an end. It's really interesting. It underpins nearly everything we do. And from trailer making, it's probably your safety net, the 3-act structure. So the first thing to do is look at your film and break it down into its 3-act structure. Normally what happens in a film and in a trailer, and this is the as I say, the first thing is learn the rules, probably. You can always bend the rules and you can always break the rules, but it's great to know the rules. And if you're doing something for the first time, this is kind of like the architecture that's a surefire way to get something down on as a trailer that works. Then if you want to mess around with it, that's great, and play with form and twist it a bit. But understanding the basic underpinnings of a film and subsequently how to structure a trailer is really good. So, normally what happens in a film, and particularly in Australia, is Act 1 is the setup, obviously. Who are the key characters? What's the key context? What's their relationship? What's the general sort of situation we're heading towards? They're going to a wedding, they're zooming off into space, they're going on a road trip, oh, their brother and sister, they're friends, they're whatever, it's a family, they've got to get their daughter across town, across the city, Little Miss Sunshine for a competition. This is it. Something usually happens about a third of the way in. That's the first kind of speed hump, twist thing that propels us into the real body of the story. Like the middle is, oh, you're getting me interested, my mind's working, I'm thinking about what's happened. The third act is all about, I've got a tear in my eye, you've got me here, the hair's up on the back of my neck, I'm gripping it's all about the emotional impact on you. That back act is just about the music, the imagery. You've set it up, you set up who they are, you've set up the real nub of the story, and now you're just saying, and it will unleash this, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll sit you on the edge of your seat, you will want to find out how this ends. That's what your back act's about. The King's Speech, when I first saw the King's Speech, I saw a 2.5 hour rough cut, no special effects, no talk about this film, no one had any idea it was going to be a big film. I went along at 11 o'clock in the morning with the director who'd come off the set the day before, and his editor had been assembling the film while he'd been shooting. He'd only watched the rough cut himself once. And we sat there and I watched it, and I thought, this is a really good film. I knew that straight away. But in my heart, I went, the risk with this film is that it is what we call a high-end BBC Sunday night costume drama. That's how it can work. No, seriously. It had all the it didn't, Colin Firth, he doesn't open, it's not Tom Cruise, he doesn't open a movie. We talk about actors who will open a movie. I very rarely work on campaigns where you have an actor that will open. There's very few actors that will genuinely, what we call open a movie. You have them in people will go, and there are a few. And that's why they get paid so much money. Because they literally, if their name is on the poster, if their name is in the trailer, you could literally put up a shot of their face, and it's the name of the film and the credit block, and people will come to it. And that's how it is. There's a handful of them, tiny number. Colin Firth doesn't have it. Helen Bonham Carter. It's a period drama. Again, some of you have to face this. It's set in the past, and they are harder to sell because they often get, they're a bit old, fuddy-duddy, old-fashioned. We've seen a lot of them. And as I say, at the end of the day, it was a story about, it could have been a very well-shot BBC high-end television drama. Now, it managed to step out of that. And it managed to step out of that, I think, because the story is so well told and the emotion is so good. But what's also interesting is, and when in America, the campaign's wonderful. I tried to find this to bring it here. In season, they did this campaign where they went around America interviewing people from like Oklahoma and places saying, it's amazing, the emotions they go through are just like us. They might be kings and queens, but they're just like real people and I can relate to them. And it was like, the whole thing was about the fact that the Americans, they were actually just normal people who actually had feelings, and I just thought it was brilliant. It just showed the difference in the marketplaces. But really, what the King's Speech is what most films are. And what most people see, it's a wonderful human drama. It's about a man, the context as he happens to be a king, and it happens to be in the past, and a friendship with another man, and between them, they overcome an amazing obstacle to do something wonderful. Now that, even just talking about it, gives me goosebumps. If you say it's a film about a king who had to leave his country in the war, okay, it's an historical drama, but that's not a human story. It's about a man who had an impediment, who was terrified to do something, who was forced to do it for the better of a lot of people, and through a friendship, and by coming together, by working together, they overcame these things and did something great. That is a nice story. I worked on another film I'll show you in a minute called Rubber Proof Fence. Same problem. That is a film about what we call in Australia the stolen generation. The stolen generation were native Aboriginal children who, when white people thought it would be much better if they came and lived in nice brick houses with roofs and mattresses and not live out in the outback with their families. So they literally took the children from their families for no better reason than they thought the white lifestyle would be better for them, and put them into foster homes and into these environments which was totally alien to these children. And they had loving families who were devastated. They were literally drawn away, dragged from their parents' screen. There was a lot of pressure at the time this film, Rabbit Proof Fence, came out, for the Australian government to apologise to the Aboriginal community for what was done in the past. And the Australian government's attitude was that was the past, it's nothing to do with us today, no, we don't want to apologise. And a lot of white Australia felt like that. So here we are trying to release a film that's basically saying, look the hell what you did to these children, it's appalling, and getting a population who are right in the middle of a political battle over this, who are all going, we don't want to face up to it, to go and see this as their Friday evening entertainment. So what we did was, we sold it as it truly is. What it actually is a film about 3 children under the age of 12 who walked 1,500 miles across a desert just to go home to their mother. It says you are in the middle of the desert, you are 1,500 miles from home. That was the only trailer they ever went out with. 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah, my spine is tingling, even without me having to do anything.
Yeah, it does. It hooks you in, and it's just because we recognised that the challenge of that film was no one wanted to see a film that was going to browbeat them about the stolen generation. People wanted to see a film that's emotional and uplifting and has hope in it as well, and has a human drama. And it took 10 million at the box office. It was a success. And the great thing was, when everyone went and saw the film about these children, this human drama, they suddenly went, oh my God. And why did they do that? Because they were taken from their families by these people. So it ends up getting the right, we got the people there to see it. Well, we have to talk about our films in really brutal terms. As distributors, we can't be scared to discuss, as I say, the challenges. Because if we're scared to talk about them in those terms, we won't sell them. So, okay.
My husband is, he's required to speak publicly. Perhaps he should change jobs. He can't. And what of my husband with the Duke of York?
Forgive me, Your
Royal Highness.
Royal Highness.
My husband has seen everyone, to no avail.
Enunciate. He hasn't seen me. What was your earliest memory?
I'm not here to discuss personal matters.
Why are you here then?
Because I bloody well stammer!
Do you know any jokes?
Timing isn't my strong suit.
Your methods are unorthodox and controversial. It's actually quite good fun.
My father is infatuated with a woman who's been married twice. Wallace Simpson.
I'm not a king. I'm a naval officer.
The nation believes that when I speak to them, but I can't speak. Why should I waste my time listening? Because I have a voice!
Yes, you do.
It's time.
Your first wartime speech.
However this turns out, I don't know how to thank you for what you've done.
First and foremost, things that you noticed that have gone into making that trailer, other than just shots from the film. What are the important elements of that trailer?
Music.
Music. Yeah. What about the music? 1 track, 2 tracks, many tracks? How many?
At least 3, I think.
3.
Wow.
3-act structure, 3 tracks. Opening setup, middle propel, end emotion. Other things people noticed? In the telling of the story, anything? Intertitles. Absolutely key. Absolutely key. Key bits of information. A reluctant prince would become king. Simple. Throw away. The battles to get across. The basic story arc in that were quite hard. As a prince who's becoming a king and has to give a speech, it was quite hard. It's funny, and there were no lines in the film because she talks about my husband, the Duke of whatever, because he's not the king at that stage. He becomes the king halfway through. And if you could have a simple card that tells so much more, then you're free to use the best scenes or the best shots or the most emotional the moments that show you the best bits of the film, not the bits that say, "Hi, my brother John, how are you?" Oh, you go, "Oh, he's his brother John, I get it now." You know, two brothers. Okay, great, then I can just show shots of them doing whatever they want, being funny, being brothers, as opposed to having to use a scene where they just actually tell me they're brothers. How boring is that? So we come up with 2 brothers, who's something, who's something. One of the most critical things is these cards. We'll get into we'll get into more detail of this stuff later, but so we've got music that's been picked up, we've got into cards, we've obviously got scenes from the film. Any other things that people noticed?
What the Academy Award nominee?
Yeah, got those, good. And we actually had some.
So that again, what?
Yeah. We only got sort of Academy because we lost the A at the front, but I did say Academy. Credibility, we had some 5 stars then. Okay, sound design. You all laughed because at the end, the King's speech just doesn't come on. Boom! You know, oh, that's very important, you know, it's got a boom on it, you know. Trailer sound effects, you're going to have to get your editors. You can download them, you can find them. Little symbol risers. Every time a graphic comes on, I don't know if you notice it, it's buried in the music, but they're audio beats. And they're what we call the punctuation. And there are 2 forms of trailer punctuation you need to think about. Because you're taking 2.5 hours, or 2 hours, or 1.5 hour of film, and you're trying to condense it to 2 minutes. Now the problem is, if I cut a shot of saying one person saying something, and then a shot of another person standing there from a completely unrelated scene, it's highly likely I think that person just said it to them, because I don't have a context, you know, it's just random shots being cut together in a trailer. It's like shots from all over. But we use 2 forms of punctuation. One is sound effects, which help us graphics come on. We dip or fade to black. And that is the second punctuation, the dip to black, the burn to white, the dissolve. If I have a page of writing, I have no commas, I have no full stops, I have no capitals, I just have words. I'm like, where does one sentence stop, where does one sentence end, when do I, you know, what's one idea, what's another idea? If I'm in a trailer and I have story beats, this is a little pod, a little bit that goes together. She says this, he responds, and then dip to black, up. My mind doesn't even probably register it, because it's subconscious. I'm so used to this technique. But what it's telling my mind is I've just had a full stop. This next bit that I'm seeing is not an extension of that last bit. I'm not meant to think that this woman is reacting to that man. There's been a little dip to black. In the back, that dissolving of images where you want to get momentum, you don't do it in films. You know, I remember being taught at film school, you know, dissolves are for losers. It means you can't, you know, you've got a continuity error and you've stuffed up. In trailers, they're an art form. They're a part of creating pace and change. And when you go into a montage, where you're using a lot of dissolves, it's all about flowing emotion together. It's all about creating a sort of a beautiful wash that comes over you. You're not meant to take it literally anymore. I'm not meant to be going shot. I'm just meant to feel this sort of flow of ideas that flows together. So we've got dips to black, burns to white. It's a big moment. Burn to white, you know. It's got a little symbol on it. The graphics are coming in. They come in with a little sound. 3 tracks. There's one other thing about the music. Cliched old trailer trick. I'm going to tell a joke, or I'm going to have a really important line. I'm going to have the music stop. You know, tell me So, do you know any jokes? Music stops. Pause. You feel the weight of him not able, stammering in silence. You know, timing's not my strong suit. Music kicks off again. And when she says little fun things, there is actually, I lie. I think there's 4 tracks because I think, we'll watch it again. When she says my husband, he says he should change jobs. She says he can't. Before she actually then says, she just says he can't, he's a junior. She goes, he can't. We have a change of music with this grand music and we see him walking in all his royal garb in front of all these people. It's a kind of a visual joke, a musical joke, before she then says, he's the Duke of York. And the music again adds to the humour, to this grandiose music. It's a joke in itself. We're bringing extra layers to help to propel the story. We don't get into the whole he might have epilepsy, the clergy side of things. The Helena Bonham Carter character is played down a lot in the trailer. It's as much about what we don't put in as what we do put in. And why I like to show that is because it shows how we've gone from an hour-and-a-half movie to a 4-minute promo, and in some ways when you're cutting your trailers, it's a good way to start, is condensing down and getting to even setting yourself maybe a 4-minute target, and then boiling it down one more step, reducing it again to 2 minutes, because it's quite hard to really come down. But at the end of the day, that is a story about 2 friends, because I go back to what was my first line. Do I need Guy Pearce? He's a great character, he's kind of a known actor, we should probably, well, let's name check him. No one even really, he's in there, it says, you know, and Guy Pearce's name appears in the trailer. I don't think he says a single line in the whole damn trailer, you know, but he still gets name checked. So we know he's in it, but he doesn't appear in the trailer. His storyline doesn't appear in the trailer. There is something, the Prime Minister's character, you know, you've got to make, this is your wartime speech, your greatest moments, but he doesn't appear in the trailer. Can't afford to have him. He's just not critical. We know Britain's the world's going to war. We know that the King has to make a speech. We don't need the Prime Minister to tell us that. We've been able to do that with cards. As the world went to war, a reluctant prince became a king, you know. So we're trying to find ways to come down to what is the nub of the story and still make it clear, make it interesting, not dumb it down so much. Now, when you're doing a trailer, there's another thing in that trailer that I think we look for, and this is what you've got to really start to think about. Trailer moments. What is a trailer moment? There are there's 3 kinds of things we look for trailer moments. The first one is, what are the key lines that help propel story that are meaty lines that we do want to put in, i.e. we don't want to use intercards like the way she says, you know, you marry me or else something. It's really telling the story, but it's telling it in a great way. So that's some nuts and bolts trailer moments that are really good story moments that we want to get that line in or whatever. The second thing, what are the images that are trailer moments? Because half of what we do in a trailer has no words at all. And half the shots that really hit you in a trailer are often the shots you would never think about when you watch the film. And I'm always amazed how my editors find them. It's a head turn, it's a look, it's a tear on a cheek, it's a little gem moment that somehow just crystallises all the emotion, the feeling and the things that makes this film great. It's literally a glance between 2 characters, it's a handhold. It's a shot of someone walking down a street in isolation. It could be the most obscure thing, but you put it with the right piece of music in the right sequence of shots, and it suddenly transcends from being a shot of a person walking down the street to a whole iconic metaphor for this character's situation that makes you feel for them. And, you know, going through the film and going through it again and again and again to find those moments is really, really important. The third one is the lines of dialogue, not the ones that give us a little bit of story that we like, that are worth putting in, so we won't use intercards. They're the lines. And you'll know, I mean, you can quote Jerry Maguire, you know, you had me at hello. I mean, it drops into common parlance. And I mean, we have it, you know, from an English, and that may be an English language thing, so I apologise for this, but in the English language, no, you can just say to anyone, you had me at hello, and it's kind of like a, you know, metaphor for you don't have to keep babbling on, you had me, and that is a line from a film. Now, I've heard this story and I always say it, and I can't actually remember if it's true or I made it up now, but I like it, so I'm going to tell it anyway. And if it's not true, you can find out. It's still a good story. I have heard that, what's his name, the scriptwriter Goldman or whatever, got bought onto the original Terminator movie. And they felt like the script was 90% there, but it was missing something. And he works as a script editor. And as the story goes, he came on and got paid millions of dollars. And he wrote 3 lines. Hasta la vista, baby. I'll be back. And one other line, forget what it was. And literally, but you know what? What do you remember from Terminator? Hasta la vista, baby, and I'll be back. You know, and if you end a trailer with I'll be back, you have a trailer line. And that's what I mean about trailer lines. It's the moment when someone says, I love you, in a way that you just chills you, whether it's the actor's performance, whether it's the words, whether it's the whatever. It's those lines that stick in your mind. If you've got a comedy, it's the 3 killer gags. If you haven't got 3 killer gags, you haven't got a trailer for a comedy. And they're really hard to cut trailers for, because a lot of comedy is about setup. I've worked on so many comedies where every joke takes a minute to really pay off. And so it's very hard to find those one-liners or those nuggets, those little pithy, tiny minutes that make you really laugh. But that's what you're looking for. And I actually say to people when they're writing their scripts, where is your trailer lines? You know, go and tell me the 3 lines. If you can't tell me the 3 lines of dialogue that when they're sat in a trailer are going to make you go, or, you know, cry or laugh out loud, get your script writer and go back and keep writing, because you don't got them. Because we're going to be looking for them. And if they're not there, we'll work it out pretty quickly when we come to market this film. There has to be a couple of lines that sizzle. There has to be a couple of shots. And this is the other one, your poster image. What is your poster image? Now, we worked, as I say, Rubber Proof Fence, good example. There's a shot of a girl carrying her sister. She's 12, she's got her 6-year-old sister draped across her arms. She's in a shimmering desert. All you can see is this sort of figure coming through the haze with this draped little body and her other little sister beside her. And that became, we used it in the teaser trailer, and that became the poster image. And of course then, you're doing what we always want to do in advertising and in marketing. You're creating a brand. And that brand is something that wherever someone goes, if you see the Coca-Cola sign, it doesn't matter where you are, it's the Coca-Cola. If you see something to do with Apple, it'll always have a look about it, you know it's Apple. You know, there are a couple of, you know, Sony, Coca-Cola, I forget, they're the most known icons in the world. Now, if you're marketing a movie, I've seen the most stupid thing. I've seen, we've got our poster designer, look, they've created this poster and they've used this title treatment like this, isn't it lovely? And look, here's our trailer, and look, we've got our graphic designer in the trailer, and he's done the title treatment like this, and I go, they're not the same. You know, what are you doing? You know, because if I'm walking down the street, or I'm on under the metro or the underground or whatever, and I see a poster, and I see, you know, shame written there, and I see the image of the 2 people, and then the next day I'm watching TV and I see a TV commercial with that exact logo and shots that remind me, that hark back to the poster. It's reinforcements, and I go, oh, that's the thing I saw on the tube, that caught my attention, and here it is again. I'm starting to absorb it. The risk is, I see the poster, I go, oh, that looks really interesting. Next day I see a TV commercial, I go, that looks really interesting, but I'm not putting them together, so I'm not getting the value of 2 hits. So everything must be consistent. If you've got a tagline on your poster, if you're doing a poster and you've got a great, you know, in space no one can hear you scream, get that script into the trailer as an intercard, or, you know, the final card before you go to the title, because in space something's, you know, a bit of action, no one can hear you scream, alien. Then I go see the poster, in space no one can hear you scream. I get it. Okay, now it's building awareness. Because in independent films, it's not like the studios. They just bombard you. They've got merchandise, they've got posters, they've got TV campaigns, they've got radio campaigns. You turn a corner, you hear Spider-Man, 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 whatever it's going to be. You know it's coming in 6 months before it arrives. We have a window this big. And people say, do you always need a trailer? Yes. How else are people going to know about your film? Are you going to run around the city telling everybody? Yes, you need a trailer. Yes, you get things on the web. Use the web. You know, think about other ways to market your films as well that aren't as trailers. It's about hits. It's like it's web parlance. How many hits did your site get? How many times did people register your film? Because every time they register it and clock up it's the same thing, it's another hit in their mind. It's another chance to reinforce to them, actually, oh, this could be quite interesting. This is for me. I've paid attention 3 times now. Now you're getting my attention. What we do is we break a film down. We go through and in our edit suite, we create bins, what we call bins, edit bins, where they drag and drop things. One bin will be all the clips of shots that are just great shots. A great head turn, a great cry, the visual shots. Oh, that's a great shot. That's a great big wide shot. That's a great vista. That's a great close-up of her. Another bin will be all the great dialogue lines that are about story. And another bit will be all the great emotional dialogue lines. You basically clip the film down into bins. So you end up, instead of trying to constantly be wrestling with 2 hours of film, you go through and get your selects and select and select, and then you have bins. I really need a good emotional shot here in this montage at the end, and you'll have a bin of 20 of them. It's his look here, and actually if I juxtapose it with her look there, ooh, that gives the goosebumps with that bit of music. I cannot stress to you how important music is. Music is probably the most important thing in this, because weirdly, all the emotion comes from music. And remember, a shot of a person just looking at another person or turning their head in slow-mo, which you've slowed down, and turn over the right piece of music and lyric, can suddenly become so much more than it was just as a shot. You go, that was just an average shot. Over that bit of music, you're like, oh, wow, isn't he gorgeous? Look at him, whatever. I am married with 3 children, I hasten to add, but I just didn't want to stereotype it. So there are things to think about like that. So get yourself a script, get yourself bins with shots and clips broken into some sort of, these are my great shots, these are my great story beats, these are my great emotional lines. Find yourself great music tracks, whether it's one music track, if you're going for a 3-act structure, get your editor to put a bed down. You want this thing to be about 2 minutes, get your 3 tracks down. Work out what your 2 turning points are, the 2 things that take you from the start off, where just setting up the characters in it. Here's what really kicks the story off, and here's what really kicks off the back end, propelling it to its final conclusion. Get those nutted down, because if you have that structure, 3 tracks, just to help you get going, 2 turning points, you can throw that out, you don't use 1 track, but if you're stuck, these are the places to go to. Look, you've got foreign language films, right, and you're trying to sell them to territories that don't speak your language, that don't speak the language. Counterfeiters we had to sell in the UK. It was a German film. The brief was, look, it's all set pretty much in one room. They're all wearing, the prisoner garb, the striped thing, because it's set in a Holocaust, in a war camp. But look, we don't want to feel like it's just set in one room and everyone's in a war camp. Can you avoid that and otherwise use anything else you want? Now, this will show you, it's really hard because this is going to be cut off, but we had to try with the few scenes that were at the start of the film to hook people into that could be bigger and more picturesque than that. But also, and don't use any dialogue. It's English, it's for the German, it's German spoken, it's the English market, you can't use any dialogue. So, none of the prisoner of war, not in one room, no challenge at all. So anyway, it did really, really well. So I'll show you how we did it, and I'll quickly show you the German trailer, how I showed it domestically, which is exactly how you'd sell it domestically, because it's a great drama with wonderful acting, and you would ideally have all the acting in it and dialogue, but being for the English language, you couldn't do that. So you guys might have to think about trying to pare back on your dialogue and using voiceover or cards. So there you go. So this is where we make it sexy at the front. Basically the only shots that are. And effects. Cards setting it up.
Before the war, making money was not only Salomon Solovich's business, but his art. Until his luck ran out.
Turning point. More voiceover.
In the darkest days of World War II, Saleh must attempt the greatest forgery of all time, counterfeiting millions in Allied currency for the most diabolical regime in history. They'll die if they fail, but success will not guarantee their survival. Based on the true story, it takes a counterfeiters.
Okay. Lines like it takes, you know, a clever man to make money, it takes a genius to stay alive. You know, the script's really important, there's no dialogue. And they're the things you've got to think about. There's cards at the front that set up. As I say, challenge was one room, prison garb, how do we make it sexy and appealing but still be truthful to the story? 2 turning points. You know, first one is he gets arrested, he gets jailed or put into a camp. Second one is that gunshot where you realise the stakes are getting higher, and then it's really survival, it's all over. Music lifts us up, quotes from critics, things like that. So that's something to think about. This is the trailer we would have cut if we were cutting the domestic trailer, because it's the right trailer for the domestic spoken language market. Sorry about the quality, but I had to go from there.
Mr. Sokowicz, Mr. Leiter.
Der charmante Sir in ganz Berlin.
Ich glaube, einen argentinischen Pass.
Sie haben Glück. Das wäre ein argentinischer Pass und ein Tango.
Frau Kommissariat Berlin. Falsch gedacht. Es ist mir eine Ehre, den besten Fälscher der Welt verhaften zu dürfen.
75.517.
Sokowicz, König der Fälschen. Erinnern Sie sich? Willkommen in Sachsenhausen. Operation Damals. Wir fälschen Ihr Geld ab. Vergessen wir mal die Umstände. Nur wir beide ist möglich. Die perfektesten Lügen aller Zeiten.
Was in der Ehe passiert, in Deutschland bleibt. Ohne Devisen, Konventionen, keine Rohstoffe.
Wissen Sie, Sokowicz, hier ist sich selbst der Nächste. Kann ich garantieren bei Ihnen? Wenn...
Sorry, wir können die ganze Zeit, bevor Sie uns ins Gas schicken.
Wir wollen ins Gas, was wird sinnlos geschossen wird.
Wenn du nicht hier überlebst, und du in Zahlen überlebst!
So 99% of that's dialogue. Now, from a trailer point of view, it's almost impossible to deal with in a trailer, because with a trailer you're doing 5 or 6 shots over lines of dialogue and stuff. If you try and subtitle it, you just can't. It's impossible. Can I leave?
Whoa, feedback. All right, let's try this.
This is the voiceover for a comedian movie trailer. Take 1.
In a world where laughter was king.
No in a world, Jack.
What do you mean, no in a world?
It's not that kind of movie.
Oh? Okay. In a land that...
No in a land either.
In a time...
No, I don't think so.
In a land before time.
It's about a comedian, Jack.
One man.
No.
When your life is no longer your own.
What does that mean?
When everything you know is wrong.
That's wrong.
In an outpost.
No.
On the edge of space.
There's no space.
A girl.
No.
2 girls.
No.
Now.
No.
More than ever.
Stop it.
A renegade cop.
I hate you.
A robot renegade cop.
You're fired.
You're fired.
No, you're actually fired.
I'm fired.
Get out of the booth, Jack.
No, I like it in here.
So, if you come up with a voiceover that cheesy, then you will fail, I promise you. But just if ever you're going to charge in your future careers, I think that's a lovely piece of marketing, because it's not in the film, it's a documentary about stand-up comedy, but the great thing about that is, you see that and it makes you laugh, and you think, if that makes me laugh, I get the tone of the film, I get the style, I get the attitude, plus it's beautifully shot and beautifully executed, it's going to be quality. You think, I'd be quite interested to see that film, I have no idea what it's about, but you've hooked me, you've got me. So remember, you don't always have to do something that absolutely tells what the film is about. All you want to do is grab people's attention and make sure that you get across the style and tone, so if they turn up, they're not disappointed.